Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tail Crafts. Welcome to part 2 of the pop-up staircase videos. I will be using the slimline staircase today along with 2 stamp sets, the Witch's Brew 6x6 stamp and the Wild Sunflowers 6x6 stamp. And here I just showed you the Copic colors that I'm going to use for my sunflowers. I went ahead and already colored 2 of them just to save on time, but I will show you how I colored these 2 images. I am using 3 markers for each of the petals and the leaves. However, this sunflower I'm coloring here really only needed 2 markers because the petals are super small. But I tried my best to use all 3. And I am using a lighter yellow for the front petals and a darker orangey yellow for the back petals of my sunflowers, just to add some variation. And I chose to use the Wild Sunflowers and the Witch's Brew 6x6 stamp sets in this video because those are the stamps that are included in the Harvest Blessings Deluxe Fall card kit and the Happy Hauntings Halloween card kit. So here I'm going to show you the coloring for those images so that when I do my 10 card 1 kit videos for each of them, I won't have to show the coloring. With that being said, I am still speeding through this pretty quickly. I do not color this fast. I am actually going 5 times the speed that I normally do. So this set, like the horsing around stamp I used in my last video, was also illustrated by my grandma. She helped me draw 3 of the sunflowers here. And they're very whimsical. Sunflowers actually have very, I guess, proportionate petals. They almost all look the exact same size. So these are definitely drawn in more of a wild and whimsical style. I really like this image that I'm coloring up here, and I liked it so much that I turned it into a layering stencil, which is also included in the Fall Deluxe card kit. So when I have those 2 videos posted, I will be giving away 1 card kit for each. So definitely stay tuned for that. And if you haven't seen the product showcase video for the Harvest Blessings collection, I will have it linked down below. There's a couple more days to leave your comment on that video to enter yourself into the chance to win one of 2 $50 gift cards to Scrappy Tails. So I'm just about finished with these sunflowers. There's a lot of really nice sentiments in this set. Some are fall themed, but some are also more like friendship and thinking of you themed sayings. And there's also some tiny ladybugs. I just used 2 red markers for those, but they're nice little embellishments. Alright, so there I just showed you the Copic colors I am using for the Witch's Brew stamp set. I did pull in a skin tone for each of these witches. I made them sisters, so they have the same skin tone. Again, for most of the images I am using 3 markers, but there's some really tiny potion bottles where I only added 2. So the witches in this set are really pretty. I drew them kind of in a Barbie style, so they're definitely glamorous witches. But again, with my Copic markers going from darkest to lightest. What I love about this stamp is that you get so many little images and then the 2 main witches to create a fun scene, which works perfectly with the slimline staircase. For both staircases, I think they lend themselves well for scene cards because you can pop up the images in your scene to add more dimension. There were a couple cards I made that weren't scenes, so you can definitely still use them for more elegant designs and like flower arrangement cards, which is what I will do with the Wild Sunflower stamps. I didn't really create a scene with them. I just arranged them in a pleasing cluster and just created like a pretty fall design with them. So I made this witch blonde, and I will make the other witch have black hair. The ink that I used for these images is Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is alcohol friendly. I'm going to give them a black kitty, and I'm going to use every image from this stamp set for my card today. I think there was like 1 or 2 potion bottles I didn't end up using, but I do like to usually stamp out the full stamp set because I know I'm going to use them on different cards for the showcase. And I also knew, again, that I was going to do a 10 card 1 kit video with this stamp, so if I had leftovers, I could definitely use them on that video. So this witch is going to get a green dress. I stuck with the colors that are included in the Happy Hauntings 6x6 paper pad because I'm going to use some of those papers on my scene, so I wanted every image to be cohesive. So the color scheme is purple, green, black, and orange. I really like this witch that's stirring the cauldron, and I'm going to replace some of the bubbles with gems, which I thought was really cute. And if you haven't seen the A7 pop-up staircase, I'm also going to link to that video. It is basically the same staircase, just made for A7 cards, and I did use the horsing around and the spider witch stamps for that video. I also made tons of staircases with our new standalone dies. So if you'd like to see those, they're in my product showcase video and also in my product showcase coordinating blog. I will link to both. And that'll just give you some more ideas. I like that the staircases are year-round. You can use them for any scene and any holiday. This image that I'm coloring are little test tubes with labels that say bat wings, snake venom. So it's really cute. When I created this stamp set, I was imagining like a witch's lair. Alright, so now I'm going to color in the broom. And here is where I start to just go down to 2 markers an image. This is a cute spell book. All of these images are the ones that I'm going to pop up on the staircase. And if you guys have any suggestions on products to use in an upcoming video from the new release, just let me know. Like I said in my last video, I'm going to have the barn pop up, the storefront haunted house add-on, and then the 2 card kits coming up for my next few videos. So here I'm quickly going through these last couple images. They're very small, but these small images are kind of what finishes off the scene. There is a shelf included, so all of the little potion bottles are going to go on the shelf. There's also a witch hat and a witch shoe, so it could also be a cute like witch's closet scene. And witches are my favorite. I am always a witch for Halloween because my name is Sabrina. So every single year, I usually have 2 costumes, but I have to do one as a witch because that was probably not my favorite TV show growing up, but one of my favorite shows. There's also a new version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch on Netflix, and that was the witch that I was last year. So this year I'm probably going to be like one of these witches with the cute dress and hat. So I'm curious to know what you guys or what your kids were for Halloween last year and what they'll be for this year. I'm down to my last images. I think I just show you this potion bottle and the candle. And then I think you guys get the idea. I did make all of the glass potion bottles blue. I also did that for the fortune teller globe. Alright, so now we can actually construct the cards. I am taking the green and black stripe paper from the Happy Hauntings paper pad, and I'm cutting it with the slimline staircase. Now it's not long enough to cut the whole base. So here you saw I cut the right side first, and now I'm cutting the left side, and I'm going to have to join those together onto my staircase, which you'll see. I did cut the staircase twice from heavyweight black cardstock, and I also cut all of the slitted tabs from black and my bridges. I think I cut 8 of those, but I only used 6. So here is my stripe paper. I'm going to cut just the base part that's going to be seen on the front of the card. I wanted to show you that you can still decorate a pop-up with 6x6 pattern paper. The stripes make it pretty easy because you can just overlap the stripe and continue the pattern. I also did it for the wallpaper of this card with the polka dot, which didn't camouflage as nicely, but I knew it was going to be primarily covered by the staircase and also by that large image with the test tubes. Alright, so now I'm going to construct the base. I am adding ATG tape and liquid glue to the bottom 1-inch tab on one of my bases, and then I'll connect that tab with the same tab on the second card base. Alright, then I'm going to open it up again, and on one side I will add again ATG tape and liquid glue to all of the tabs that are above each score line. So these are about 1 inch tall. I'll go ahead and fold it up, and then one at a time I will glue each step of the staircase to the other base. And then that will pretty much finish off the assembly of the staircase. It's very easy to put together. And those little slitted tabs are what's going to create that pop-up effect for your images. The bridges go through the slit and allow your images to stand upright. Alright, so here's that black and purple polka dot pattern paper. This is going to be like the wallpaper for my witch's lair. Again, I had to cut 2 pieces in order for it to go across the card. And there is some black at the bottom. That is fine because my staircase is going to cover that. So to make the transition a little more seamless, I took a black marker and went over the edge of both sides where the polka dots are going to butt up against each other. I kind of wish I just overlapped the polka dots, because here you can see I'm trying to line up those half dots that were created when I cut the paper, and I think it's more noticeable versus just gluing it on top to try to continue the pattern, which is what I did with the stripes here. So I'm going to, again, just on the side where they're going to overlap, add a black marker. That's going to cover the white area so it's not as noticeable. Then on the right side of the staircase, I'll glue the full panel, and then this left one I will have to trim. And here you can see that black stripe I'm going to overlap with the black stripe on the right side. And this one you can barely notice the seam where the 2 papers meet, but I am going to cover that seam regardless with a witch. So now I can go ahead and glue down my staircase. It's up to you if you want to glue it right away. Sometimes I will work with the scene, pop up my images, and then glue the staircase. But I felt confident. I liked the pattern paper, so I went ahead and just glued it down. Here are my witches. I knew I wanted them in the front. I'm just trying to figure out the sentiment that I want. This seems like the perfect size to go in between them. And then off camera, I did kind of assemble the scene that I wanted to create. So that spider web is from the Spider Witch 6x6 stamp set. That was the only image I did not use from the last video, so I decided to put it in the corner of this card. Here is my shelf. I'm going to add some potion bottles and a candle to it. And off camera, I did add 2 white die cuts behind my stamped images, just to add some more dimension. For the candle and potion bottles, you saw that I cut the bottom part of the white die cut so that I can overlap them with the shelf and that everything would be flush. So that's what I was showing there. I also added my test tubes to the back row and the little bat. So the images that I want to pop up on the staircase are the broom, and then the larger potion bottles and the fortune teller crystal ball and the spell book. I decided to add this little skull to the cauldron, and again I'm cutting off the part that's going to overlap the cauldron just so that the dimension is even across all the images. So here is my first slitted tab. I'm going to take one of the bridges, fold it in half, and then fold it where those 2 tabs are on each end. And then on the top of the tabs, I'm adding glue and connecting it to the slit, the bottom of the slitted tab. I'm going to trim this bridge a little bit so that it's skinnier for my cat. And then that one's going to go on the left bottom step. So here I have more images. I'm trying to figure out what I want to pop up. And then I'll create another bridged tab by folding the bridge in half, folding the tabs outwards, gluing the tabs to the bottom of the slitted rectangle. I'll trim the bridge so that it fits better with my image, and then I'll just glue it to the second step of the staircase. There I went with another larger size potion bottle. I'm going to attach some of the really small potion bottles to the crystal ball and the spell book. And then here is the tab that goes across the middle of the staircase. It's longer. There's actually 4 slits on it. I cut it down so it's just 3, and I will add a bridge to each of those. So you can cut down the middle portion if you want only 1 image in the middle, or if you want 4. In this case, I did 3. And I'm going to just add all of my bridges at once, folding the bridges in half, folding the tabs outwards, adding glue on top of those outward tabs, and gluing them to the bottom of the slitted rectangle. So once you create one of these, you can create the others super quickly. They're just like game board pieces. That's where I got the idea. And my mom said that they are also the way you used to create paper dolls. So again, I'm trimming those bridges. You can make them shorter, skinnier, so that they work with the size image you want. All right, so I went ahead and glued the slitted rectangle and attached it to my top staircase. And then to the right of the Green Witch, I'm going to pop up this little cluster I made with the broom, the hat, and the shoe. I thought that was really cute. Again, making it skinny because that broom is very skinny. And then I think that's it. I don't think I added another one to the second right-hand staircase just because the witch covered most of that area up. I went with a black and white heat embossed sentiment. For some reason, I didn't cut this specific sentiment twice from white, so I just popped it up with foam tape. And then just to accent the sentiment and the bubbles on the cauldron, I am adding our new gem mix, or rhinestone mix, from our Happy Hauntings card kit. And then that finishes off the card. Here's a close-up. I think it's super cute. I love that I was able to use pretty much all the images on that card. So for my wild sunflowers, I'm going to start by die cutting this slimline wood grain background die from last year. This is going to be the backdrop for my flowers. I cut it twice from heavyweight craft cardstock, and I'm going to stack 2 of them on top of each other just because there's some really thin lines on this die, and I just want it to be a little bit more sturdy. And then the background that will go behind the wood grain is a slightly darker brown. This is one of my favorite dyes. It's really nice to add a subtle background. And then it works for the storefront, our birdhouse. You can probably even use it on our new pop-up barn. All right, again, so this plate is 8.5 by 3.5, but I want to use as much height as possible, so I went with an 8.5 by 4-inch card panel. So you are going to see about 1 inch at the bottom, but again, my staircase is going to cover that up. You can do 8.5 by 3.5 if you prefer, but because those images lift upward when you fold the card flat, I wanted to make sure that I had enough height to the card, and even with the 4 inches I went a little bit above, so I can't technically mail this card, but I would definitely hand deliver it. So now that the wood grain is glued down, I will just go around the edges with my vintage photo distress ink just to make it look a little more rustic. Alright, so I cut the staircase from brown heavyweight cardstock. Again, I'm creasing all of those score lines before I start my gluing. I'm going to add ATG tape and liquid adhesive to the bottom 1-inch tab on one of my bases, and then connect that tab to the same tab on the second card base. Then on one side, again, I'll add my ATG tape and liquid glue to the tabs above the score line. I will lift the 2 pieces upwards and connect each step together. And that's it. It's a very simple pop-up. It's one that I think is a good starting point if you want to get into pop-up card making. Alright, so again, I cut this orange and cream polka dot cardstock from the new Harvest Blessings 6x6 paper pad. I will do the same technique by merging the 2 pieces together. Again, I wish I overlapped instead of tried to join them perfectly. But my sunflower is going to cover that area, so it didn't really matter. So here are each of my sunflowers. There's 4 in the set. I kind of wish I did a 5th one just to do an odd number, but it ended up being okay. So on the left side, I decided to do a cluster of 3 sunflowers, and on the right, I did 1. I cut the words "Grateful for You" from the slimline pop-up staircase. There's a bunch of words included, which is really nice. Some of them are great for Thanksgiving and fall cards. So I cut the "Grateful for You" 3 times from heavyweight white cardstock and once from brown glitter. Honestly, after assembling this card, I kind of preferred the white letters. They just stood out a bit more than the brown glitter. But at the time, I wanted some sparkle, so that is what I did. I'll go ahead and glue my staircase to my wood grain background. And here, when you fold the card up to fold it flat, you see that 1-inch tab at the bottom. You can glue more pattern paper there if you want. I'm not sure if I did or not. On some of my cards I did, on some I didn't. So now I'm creating my little slitted stands for the images. And this large sunflower is going to go on the right bottom staircase. And there are 3 die cut layers behind them, or 2 white die cuts, should I say. So they are pretty heavy. So I am going to connect that little leaf to the left to the second staircase by adding another tab there. It's just going to add more stability to that image. If you only go with 1 die cut, you probably don't need to do that. So this image was a little bit too tall, so you're going to see me cutting it so many times to get it to the right height. And I should have tucked it in before gluing the staircase, but this ended up being okay. I cut quite a bit of it off. And I'm gluing that directly onto the wood grain. Then this sunflower I'm going to pop onto the staircase, hiding that seam where the 2 patterns meet. And then my last little sunflower is going to go on the left bottom staircase or step. So I'm going to create 1 more slitted tab. And this one leaf was just not cooperating with me, that bottom right leaf. So I'm going to cut it off and move it to the left side. That allowed me to tuck in the sunflower more towards the right. I'm going to hide that bridge with that leaf that I just cut off. All right, and then the only other image I decided to pop up was the sentiment that says, if friends were sunflowers, I'd pick you. I'm going to glue that right in the middle. And then on the staircase, I will add the grateful for you. I love these little ladybugs from this sunflower stamp set because they kind of act as embellishments. So I'm gluing some of them to the leaves of the sunflowers. Some of them I glued directly onto the wood grain. And they're just really cute. And adds a nice pop of red to the card. So that's where I'm going to place the grateful for you. And then that's going to finish off my second card. I hope you guys enjoyed today's very long video. All of my videos seem to be long lately. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Right here I'm just adding some yellow and orange rhinestones, or no, pearls, from our deluxe fall card kit. I will have all of the products that I used linked down below. Here is a close-up of the card. And now I'm going to show you the 4 staircases I made, the 2 from yesterday and the 2 from today. So here's the little horsing around A7 staircase, the wild sunflower slimline staircase, the witch's brew slimline staircase, and the spider witch A7 staircase. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!